Okay, welcome back to the Committee of the Whole. The date is Tuesday, April 1st. The time is 8:31. And with that, we'll move right to public participation. There is no one in the gallery. Crystal, anyone online like to speak? No? Okay, we'll move to item number 5, approval of minutes for March the 4th, 2025.
Sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
Pay attention over there.
The approval of the agenda. I had something that we wanted to add. We approve the agenda?
I have
You
that.
know, sorry.
I think I have that as approved. You have that as approved?
From when we
What were you looking at?
first started. We had
We have you as a mover, but we don't have a seconder. I have it as carried.
Okay, what were you looking to add or
I'll
change?
second that if you.
Okay, so we wanted to add a discussion on the filming permit.
On the way?
The filming permit.
Okay.
Filming, filming.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Sure.
Where would we put that new
New
business?
business?
Okay, I also sent some information around late in the day on the post office. Did we want to add that?
That sounds like that's going to be quite a big discussion, that one. I
Um,
saw your email.
Could we put it on and I'm gonna make a suggestion that we pick it up on the 15th. At the next meet, ask them to come for as a delegation if they have a
Okay.
proposal,
Okay,
but we can at least address it.
yeah, Mr.
There
Blackwell.
was a date in that email.
I know.
I don't know if council wants to sort of convey that information or not.
I
would
missed
suggest not.
I didn't see it.
Yeah,
Okay, why don't we just put it on there for a brief discussion?
Yeah.
And if we need to revisit it or.
let's put in a
set
brief
something.
discussion and we
Okay.
can figure out from there. Let's not talk about talking about, yeah.
Okay,
What-
so we have filming and the post
Post
office.
office. Yeah.
Any other items?
Uh,
Okay, all in favor with the 2 additions?
Yes.
Opposed, motion carried.
I don't have a secondary.
Sorry.
I'll second.
Okay, Councillor Cunliffe, second, Councillor, was it Adam?
I think I- yeah.
Okay,
And I don't seem to have that email you're referring to. What time did you say you sent it?
3, something.
3 o'clock, somewhere in there.
Okay, okay, I got it here now. Thank you.
Okay, all right, we'll move to the approval of the minutes, March 4th, 2025. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second,
I'll second.
okay, any amendments?
Give me 1 second.
Page 3,
Yeah. Does this change?
There was something,
It was this change about the fire truck and bylaw enforcement again. It's not important enough. So it's now says, financial officer to determine the feasibility of designating one vehicle to bylaw enforcement
and
and the works department.
didn't the fire chief, wasn't the fire
Yeah.
chief against that?
We
No,
were
they're
pretty
just not
adamant
invited.
that
everybody was against it, yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Blackwell.
Thank you.
To me.
So council may or may not recall that you kicked the tires on 2 different concepts. One was a shared vehicle
Yes.
with fire.
Yeah.
And the fire chief, as you well know, stated his opinion on that. And the next discussion was whether or not Public Works should it be a vehicle that Public Works can utilize? I think the consensus was, if possible, let's do it that way, so it has broader utilization. So Public Works can use it if one of their vehicles has to go in for repair, which has happened now on set. Mr. Burr, how many vehicles? 2 or 3?
Well, there's one in the shop right now, but yeah, you know.
There's some redundancy.
We're often down 1.
So that was that other piece that referenced.
Okay.
Okay, So there's an action. Okay,
Okay, any other items?
there was a little typo on page 6. Third paragraph down, it says launch a resident satisfaction survey. Sorry, yeah, for the launch of a resident satisfaction survey for launch closer later 2025. I think closer is supposed to be meant to be for later 2025, I would have thought.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay,
And then the other one's a matter arising. No, it's not,
why
that's
don't we
not, that's not,
let's
no, it's
approve.
not, it's not, it's a correction, I think.
let's approve the minutes and then we.
Yeah, it's not a matter arising, it's a correction. 8.1.2, CEO proposed public engagement program. It says staff presented a report regarding a community empowerment initiative, hosting subject matter experts, which would help facilitate an informed discussion in the community and ultimately the eventual update of the official community plan. That last part is not in the report at all. It does not say in the report that it will eventually include an update of the official community plan. So I'd like to strike that part because it's not in the report.
Mr. Blackwell, was that discussed?
I did discuss that. What I was suggesting was that, given the age of the OCP at this point, that the work that is undertaken in association with this exercise has dual purpose. It can also be utilized to inform a future OCP, was my narrative.
Okay, so it was discussed.
Okay, you might have made a suggestion like that in the meeting, but the report doesn't speak to it. This is minuting what the report spoke to. It's not in the report.
Well, I think this is probably, Mr. Blackwell, do the minutes reflect discussion as well?
No, it says that staff presented a report regarding, and then the sentence carries on and ends with update of the official community plan. The report does not, the report presented did not have an update.
If he verbally added that, then that would be part of the report as well. Mr. Blackwell?
So if you want to sort of go down the rabbit hole of technicality, I would say there's two kinds of reporting. One is written reports, the other is verbal reports. So it's up to council. It makes no difference to me. It's up to council whether you want to class that statement as part of the overall report, or whether you want to limit the report to not verbal, only written. It's up to you.
I don't have a problem with it. You said that, I recall that. It's not gonna lock us into doing that, so I don't have a problem with it. Okay, all in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, business arising. I just have one, the beach park update. Mr. Blackwell, maybe you can give us an update on that community.
Certainly, council has undertaken, what you would call it, a working session with the project group to sort of clarify issues, have council concerns addressed. And based on the feedback and information exchange, the project team went away and has undertaken efforts to update the design to reflect council's preferences. There's been some other communications with council associated with that. And most recently, as of today, a Class D cost estimate has been put forward. Council late in the day, so council obviously has not had a chance to look at that. It's something that could be discussed on the 15th if council feels that it's a matter that it wishes to discuss, may not. But we are still targeting the end of September to launch both the jetty project, where the tides are apparently going to be at the lowest in the daytime hours, and the beach park. So the specific date in September is going to be a function of a number of moving pieces, but the general target is toward the end of September, which should in theory leave enough dry enough time at the end of the year for the contractors to work in the dry days of the fall, but not hard up against, prime beach use time either.
Any update on, you mentioned the jetty, with, TransLink giving us flexibility on pathways? Any update on how that will affect the jetty or other pathways?
It certainly provides very appreciated latitude with regard to the utilization of those funds. Again, as I think you have pointed out, in a smaller community where financial resources are sort of less plentiful than larger ones, it's very beneficial to have a little bit of flexibility with regard to how certain funding sources can be utilized. Through your efforts, that's been achieved. It's to be determined how best to utilize that flexibility in those funds. But as the project moves forward, we will have a clear understanding of those financial components.
When you say determine how it'll be used, is that something that the planner, Scott Christie or someone else? I guess it's not falling on the beach park architects. So who will that fall on to determine what that pathway or jetty, the final sort of product is going to look like?
I think that's been resolved. I would defer to Mr. Burr's involvement, conversations with Mr. Christie, the successful proponent, and the various on-site discussions that have occurred to inform that. But
Well, if I could just briefly, through the chair, so the jetty project is quite standalone. CEO is correct in that it now needs to wait until the fall to get the right low tides in the daytime hours, unless council chose to do them in the nighttime hours, where there'd be a noise and light problem. The basic design will end up with surface 20 inches higher than it is now. That will tie into what is still to be decided at the kayak rack area. So I don't know what that is, and nor does the contractor. I remind you that this project was tendered at the beginning of the year. There were 4 bidders attended the mandatory meeting. Only one bid, and the bid was a good one, so we awarded it. And that's where it sits in terms of waiting to start. But there's been no further discussion in terms of tying in any paths to the jetty, other than knowing that it's going to end in the hill 20 inches higher than it is today.
Wouldn't we, TransLink had talked about pathways leading from obviously the transportation all the way down into the beach. Scott Christie had talked about pathways that he could design even in the beachfront area that would qualify as pathways, and he's done that previously. So will we reach out to those individuals? Yeah.
So that to that question, that's already been accounted for with the walking to infrastructure component of that. So all of the walkway replacement components in the beach park that have been established to date that were in the RFP will be managed by that amount that's been provided for that purpose by TransLink. The additional funding, which was for the cycling infrastructure component, there's some latitude with regard to how council may wish to use that.
Will you be bringing, we've talked about the beach park plans, and we've seen plans, extensive plans. Will you also bring us a plan on that jetty and waterfront? That wall, I know that wall needs work on it. And there's been some logs drawn down there, but I think if you go to Horseshoe Bay, you see the extensive blocks and big granite blocks and things like that. Any plans that'll come forward to council?
If certainly council wishes to see that, as of today, NBA reached out for contact for Scott Christie. So those discussions about how to deal with that area, the interface, Mr. Burr is talking about, all of that is an ongoing, evolving discussion. So there were some initial concepts of log placement and securing logs on the beach, but there's nothing definitive yet in terms of fundamental design, so that's still in process and what it is. confirmed, can certainly bring that forward to council.
Councilor Brown?
A couple of things. One is to do with the jetty and that elevated height of the jetty. I think could work out very, very well if that's continued into the beach park and then up the hill. Right now, there's a dip and a very steep bank, so I think if it's leveled out more and a bit of an angle, that'll work out very, very well. And so I think there obviously needs to be discussion with whoever is going to be managing the watercraft storage in terms of how that's going to be placed and in terms of elevations and so on. So do we have any concept around the watercraft storage as yet, or is that?
Yeah, Mr. Blackwell.
Thanks. No, that was cut out of the work of NBA.
Right.
So no, there's been no further discussion on that yet.
Okay.
NBA sort of has to finalize all of the moving pieces around the design, the elevation design, the connection of the various elements. Once we know what we're dealing with,
Since we know where the playground is and so
we
on.
know where the playground is. But it's the other smaller, we call them landscaping, soft
Right.
landscaping components. Once those are locked in,
Okay.
then we'll know exactly what we're working with. And then I think that's an important discussion for council to have. You've heard Nick Bray talk about his concerns about steepness and safety and all of that stuff. So.
So he's bowed out because of that, so we'll
Yeah, there just needs to
make
be
sure we address it.
a conversation about how council wants to approach that. It could be replaced like with like, or whatever. It's a council discussion.
Okay.
I know we just sort of got word that TransLink was going to be more flexible in the last month or so. If we could get some proposals or plans, just to kind of so that we can look at what that budget is for that waterfront, that would be helpful. And I know Scott Christie, he's advised in the past that I think a time frame in the next month or two. I know it wouldn't be done until the fall, but that might be helpful for council to consider the budgets and so
So the beach park project proper, the budget is the budget. So that's fixed. The jetty, the money's already been set aside, so that's fixed. So it's how they're going to design these components to fit the budget to address sort of the realities of those interface areas and so forth. So that work is still being undertaken, and we don't have answers on what the outcomes of that are gonna look like. It could be, if I were to speculate, that they may have sort of a low, medium, and high cost solution to that beach, the actual beach proper. You know, the low cost, let's just say for argument's sake, would fit within the budget, but here are the pros, here are the cons, the high cost on the other end, here are the pros and the cons, and the decision will be council's. But that work is being undertaken, as I say, so there's nothing I can report on. With regard to that, the NBA, we're going to be reaching out to Paul Christie, and any day now.
on. Okay, Councilor Bartlett.
The CAO tasked me with trying to herd council a little bit with getting input on the beach park last week. So I'm assuming that Councillor Abbott's feedback was more or less his response. I think you were saying maybe the roof is a little bigger than we need, but let's think about that one. I think this is what I recall.
At that point, we hadn't been told what it was constructed of, and I'm still not quite clear. It was talking about polycarbonate.
So
anyway, that's for another discussion.
Yeah. So anyway, if everyone on council could give me some kind of feedback that I could, if or no feedback, and I'll be in discussion. Nick Bray actually phoned me on Friday night, and I missed the call and didn't notice until Monday. So I haven't phoned him back, and then we got these documents today. So I think it would be really useful for me to give him a call and very informally, but any input that you'd like me to have prior to me doing that, I'll give him a call in the next day or so. So if you want to get back to me, that would be great. One of the concerns I have is the draft that I saw today was fairly simplistic. Now figuring, recognizing that it was done by, seemingly done by Euros, more so Euros. I got back and said, I'm a bit concerned about what the roof is made of, what it looks like, what its texture, what its slopes and everything else. And I think we need more discussion on that, because it is such a pivotal part of what I think people believe they were getting there in terms of roof structure and so on. So I think we're starting to zero in. So I think it'll be really important for council to bring forward their ideas in the next week or so.
Okay, Mr. Blackwell.
Yeah, thank you. To put a finer point on that, for us to be able to launch this work in September, I realize how fast the calendar goes by.
Yeah, we need to get on it.
So with regard to this, with regard to other items that inevitably will come forward to council, much like it's been discussed now, in regard to the beach, budget, all these things, it will be very problematic if each item takes a month to deal with. We will have run out of time. So, and then we're in really deep trouble. So my request, respectful request of council is, if you could give this priority so that we can keep the ball moving, that would be really appreciated.
Okay,
Okay, well,
any other
I'll get back to you
comments on the
next day
beach
or
park
two.
or any other business arising?
Yeah, I had a couple of business horizons. First one should be pretty quick. So we attached, as part of this minutes, we attached the report that we received enclosed around the fire chief.
Sorry.
We attached the report that we received enclosed as agreed
Oh, yes.
on the fire chief, because we couldn't announce it because he hadn't told people. So on page 12 of the minutes, the attachment to the minutes, there's the direction it's to staff. And option 1A was direct staff to conduct a feasibility study, B, etc., etc. Are we in agreement that that is now going to go onto the action log, and that's the course we're taking here?
I'm good with that.
Caught up
I'm
with me,
good
or
with
do I
that.
need to read it?
No.
Yeah.
Um,
Blackwell.
that can go on to the action log. My sense was, however, that council was already sort of clear on the direction it wanted to go with regard to how to staff that position.
Mhm.
So if council's still comfortable with that position, which is part-time, continue with part-time, it's actually going to be formally a little bit more than it was in terms of hours.
Mhm.
I think that's probably the best way to go in terms of these other details, job scope and so forth. That's a conversation that I'm going to have with Barrett to figure out how to do a more detailed assessment of how to manage the workload, whether certain work comes off the table just because the position can't manage it, or whether it's divested to other officers. All of that sort of discussion has to happen anyway. So it's up to council. It's gonna happen, it has to happen as part of the hiring process and sort of the changeover. So it's up to council whether you wish to have that as an action item.
So,
We're just in that.
so you got clear direction that you're looking for a part-time position, and we're looking at possibly moving some of the functions to maybe someone else if possible, if they're more administrative, and trying to come up with a solution. Is that?
That'd be under job scope and that.
If I could.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yes, question number one, what has to be done? What can be either, what's the word, give it to somebody else, what's the word I'm looking for?
Delegated.
Or actually removed from the role. So that, yes.
In that discussion, one of the things you should consider, so in the previous fire hall, the previous fire chief, who wasn't a professional firefighter, Some of those activities were contracted out, like the inspection stuff was all contracted out. It wasn't done by the fire chief, and that was one of the things that's added to this workload. So we should consider contracting it out again. Also think it gives us a bit of a liability, sort of separation, by having a professional contract, and that's the way it was done in the past. So we should consider that model. That was one of the workloads I mentioned.
You may want to speak with Andrew Oliver as well. Yeah, he has lots of information. Okay, so the question was, do you want to add that to the action log? We can call it feasibility study or report, or
Yeah, that was my suggestion.
I'm fine with that, adding that to it. Anyone else?
I'm good with adding it, yeah. I'd like to see that.
Okay. Councillor Bowden, any comments? Oh, okay. All right, anything else, Councillor?
I have, oh no, I'm on the next section, the action one.
Okay, and the action log,
Okay, where are we?
that is page
Page
13,
Page 13.
7.1.
Yeah. Any
Items?
Item 321, one of my favorite items. CO Ross, it now says that the financial officer is doing that, but previously the action was yours. Is that a mistake, or have you delegated that function?
No, I'm not sure why that changed.
So it should still be the CO?
Yeah, I'm still looking at it.
Item 321.
Are you sure that's what FO stands for?
Which one is that?
Item 321,
21.
the person taking care of an action log should be CAO. Yeah, that's all I got.
I'll speak to 326. I received a note from Lidstone yesterday, and he has made him aware that our next regular council meeting would be the 15th of April. He seems to recommend that we have a closed session, which he might need 2 to 3 hours. So I'm gonna go back and suggest that we maybe look at a special council meeting dedicated strictly to Lidstone, so we're not piggybacking on what we don't know yet. Could be a lengthy meeting on the 15th. So I will converse back and forth with him. I'll keep council in the chain, and so if there's any scheduling conflicts, please just make everybody aware. And we'll get that going on as soon as we can. I would say probably not until the week of. Next week is probably too short notice because there's another component that may not be ready quite yet for him to bring to us. So anytime from the 14th onwards.
Okay, Mr. Blackwell.
And you all let
I'm gonna
us know the date.
let Don know that we don't feel the 15th will be appropriate. And so we would like to perhaps call a special council meeting and ask him what dates would be preferred by him. And then we can weigh in collectively and see what's going
And
to.
then you'll let me know.
Well, I'll keep you, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Sorry, you're not on that chain, yeah.
Okay. Councillor
If
Bowden?
if that date works for him and there's no date, relatively close to then, I wonder if we could grab that date if he is free. And then, and if we can't get other material done, we could have a special council meeting for maybe other items. But I think this is going to get time sensitive. I think we should do it earlier, either the 15th or earlier or very shortly
I guess
after.
do we have any idea what the council package for the 15th may look like? Well,
Yeah.
I'll speak with you
See
offline,
what it looks like.
and then we'll check in with Dawn, and maybe we prioritize this, and if there's any other business, we can.
We could bunt it a few days sort of thing. for
Yeah.
the next
Mr.
week.
Blackwell.
I can advise there are a couple of things that have been identified for the 15th. So I think that's a really strategic decision, is to have a non-April 15th meeting,
With.
Separately,
separate meeting.
different
Yeah.
times.
Okay,
No, I support that, but I was just saying if for some reason he's not available for a couple of weeks after that we may. want-
yeah, if he indicates he's not gonna be
Yeah.
available till the first week of May, then I think we need to jump on
Yeah,
this
jump
opportunity
on
and
if
then
that's-
perhaps
yeah.
defer a council meeting to Wednesday or Thursday.
Well-
Yeah, Mr. Blackwell.
Thanks, council can easily punt those items
Okay,
to a special. council.
Yeah.
yeah,
what I'm
yeah, that's
suggesting,
what I think.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, no,
all right, we'll take that offline.
Sometimes we
Good.
struggle to
Okay.
agree
Any other items?
no,
we agree.
not us.
Nothing more from me.
Okay,
when we agree.
all right,
Section 9.
hold on. I had one,
We've dealt with the budget.
item number 20.
What's in number 20?
Are you looking at the budget?
No, looking at, still on the
Page 13?
to-do list,
New.
village action list.
So approve.
Approved danger tree removal. Any update on
It's in the budget.
action? It's on the action plan.
That's on for the budget action plan, which we already
We
addressed
discussed that.
in the special meeting.
Okay, good enough. Any update on action that you'll be taking on those?
Simply to say that we will, when we identify hazard trees, seek to remove them, as directed by the associated arborists as quickly, as effectively, efficiently as possible.
All right, any other comments?
Nope.
No, okay.
Good.
To new
Move down
business.
to new business, and we have filming. Mr. Blackwell, want to open that up?
That's, I think, Councilor Abbott.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, Mr. Abbott.
Yeah, so it's just about the filming that's going on at the moment, which seems like a very exciting time. My observation and concern is that there was no notification that went out to the residents of the village until Friday's village update, which was after the work had started, which caused me to go look at the bylaw. Sorry, the policy. It's a formal policy, not a bylaw. And the policy gives notification of the timing. You should notify people 7 days in advance and give them a chance. But also in the policy, it states that for any filming work, and it's not the filming of filming, there's a filming day, and there's the filming work, I forget the correct term, that lasts for more activities, sorry, filming activities that last for 5 days or more, it should come to council. And that didn't happen. I think had it come to council, there would have definitely have been more visibility on it. The concern raised by residents about not knowing where their packages are and having told to drive to Squamish, I think all of that could have been resolved in advance, far more efficiently, or at very worst, residents could have got some decent notice and plan not to have packages in this week. So I just over to the CEO for comments as to why that didn't come to council.
Well, that section you're referring to, I believe, I'm just pulling it up here, I believe it says more than 5 days. And so I have been assured and reassured again that it is exactly 5 days.
It's not. No, it's not. It started on Thursday last week and it's going on until the 5th. And the notice says it's more than 5 days.
If I may, do you
Chris.
have the policy in front of you?
Yes.
So it's more than 3 consecutive days of filming.
Yes, yeah.
So the setup is not counted. That's my understanding.
No, but it also says if there's more than 5 days of filming activity, and it describes filming activity of everything, breakdown, setup, parking, all of those things are described as activity. You have to bring it to council, and this one has gone on for 8 days.
Blackwell,
The other piece I'm looking for in here is to do with. Is this in here? Is to do with whether it's on private land or public land. I'm just trying to find the section where this stuff is.
Well, when,
You can just read my email.
when
I've
the
quoted
public
it.
land is being utilized for parking all up and down Center Road, which I'm not sure they're actually allowed to park there. I know that Village Hall overflow often, that does happen.
Yeah, it's called activity parking, right, the way it is right now.
Yeah, the school lot, which is that our lot or is that the school
School
district?
lot, school, is that our lot? I don't know. Beach lots being used as well,
Yeah,
circuits.
Yeah, it does say that filming activities for more than 5 consecutive days, and let's see, which it is.
do we know the
It
area
should,
that was
should definitely.
canvassed?
Yes,
It was Lions Bay Avenue canvassed and
I'm not sure.
the Bayview in adjacent to the parking.
I can confirm that it was canvassed. Who exactly? I don't have that information.
Because I'm not certain that the canvassing actually, I know within the area of the actual filming, but when we're spreading it out into different parts of the village for storage and craft
Yeah.
services, and that's definitely,
Those areas were in canvas,
so,
even the parking down at the sea and lot. Those neighbors should have been told as well, they weren't.
Yeah, they should be told.
Okay, so, I don't know, Ross, you want to get back to this? I mean, it clearly says filming activity means all outdoor human activity, mechanical activity related to commercial filming, includes all light, sound, and operational, or parking of all vehicles, trucks, and generators. It's pretty clear. We didn't follow the policy.
Seems like a fairly quiet one. Some of the previous ones we had explosions at sea and other stuff. So it seems.
So maybe you can just come back, report back to us.
Yeah, I don't know, what I can tell you, and I don't know what value, it is what it is at this point. Certainly we have, my expectation is that staff follow this policy. I have been assured that it has been. So I will yet again check into this, but it either has or it hasn't, but going forward, the expectation is that it is. Just as a footnote on this, I would suggest that this is actually not a policy, this is written as a bylaw. And there are aspects in here that are not legal. And so my recommendation is that this be rewritten, that be written as a policy later, not this year.
Why do you say it's a bylaw? It's policy number 1902.
What I'm saying is it's written as a bylaw.
It's written.
That's not policy language. That's all of those provisions. In
Okay.
other words, policies don't regulate, and this seeks to regulate. So when you regulate, that's bylaw. So this could be challenged, and it puts us on our back foot. What would be better is if we had a policy that could stand up, and if we need to amend, say, the zoning bylaw or the nuisance bylaw or whatever else.
So-
should arise.
So my question is, till such time, can you point out to staff that?
Of course.
And then in item C, it clearly says more than 5 consecutive days of filming activity. That's exactly what it says. Filming activity is for more than 5 consecutive days it comes to council.
and I would say the
Okay.
silver lining is we've highlighted something that we can do better.
Absolutely, could always do better. I just want to point out this one section here that I was looking for. It says filming day
Not to,
means any day or portion thereof in which filming activity is taking place within the municipality, except where film preparation or post-production takedown is solely confined to private property.
yes, those are filming days. We're talking about filming activities, which is defined differently.
Right. So anyway.
Okay,
Filming activity is already included in this, as filming days mean in which filming activity is taking place.
so you're saying the filming day is part of filming activity, but filming activity is more than a filming day. That's what it's saying.
So just to reread it, filming day means any day or portion thereof in which filming activity is taking place within the municipality, except where filming preparation or post-production takedown is solely confined to private property.
So filming dates, yes. Correct. But filming activities are all activities, including human activity. I just read it to you.
Yeah.
So the point is, yes, you met the filming days, 3 or 3 days, but no, we exceeded the filming activity of 5 consecutive days, which should come to council.
So if I could,
Mhm.
no, it says here, unless it's solely, quote, so unless solely confined to private property, then it doesn't apply. Nonetheless, staff will be certain to ensure, double check that it's following this and every other policy that applies.
I think it's highly sensitive to the location because residents do have a right to their mail. And to go into a parking lot and see that there's 2 designated spots for residents to be able to pick up their mail. And we very well could have people that rely on the kindness of a neighbor to drive them down to the box on a specific day of the week. So that some sensitivity should have probably been taken to the actual location.
Like,
So just to be clear, that the agreement between the film company and the store,
Oh,
we
understood.
had nothing to do with.
No, I understand that. I'm just saying when
But I
when
totally
the
understand.
permit was applied for and we see the address, then
Totally
some
understand.
light
as
bulb
well
might have.
as- yeah, and the sort of the hassle of having to drive all the way to Squamish to pick up that.
There should have been maybe a few more questions that were.
So, but again, that was solely Canada Post.
Mhm.
okay,
The operator one.
Having known works with Canada Post can be quite challenging.
Having known Michael would have gone.
can I see? There it is.
Do we not all get one of these?
Okay, it's on
No,
now.
What's that?
Okay, you're good to go.
This one?
Okay, so we're good to adjourn essentially or have some
I grabbed one as I came in.
public participation.
Okay, with that.
I grabbed it as I came in. Didn't realize everyone else had it.
Sorry.
How did I not, how did we not see that we were done?
Anyway, that's enclosed.
Anyway, okay.
Well, it's enclosed.
We'll take care of that one. Time
That's
comes.
in close?
All right, back up. Okay, we'll move to the post office. We received an email today that the post office will be closing April 7th, 2025. And they'll be relinquishing their dealership agency. Craig Doherty reached out to suggest another approach, and what that is has not been disclosed. And my suggestion would be staff reach out to Mr. Doherty to invite him to speak as a delegate at the next
Delegation.
session or delegation. Other than that, I forwarded the correspondence that he sent. Any discussion, comments?
I just do have a question. This is 7 days notice. Is that reasonable? You can't like leave your job without 2 weeks' notice, or then it seems like a inappropriate amount of notification, whether it's allowable or not. It's certainly not serving the community and giving much opportunity.
I reached out as soon as we received this email. I actually forwarded on to you guys, but also reached out to Mr. Blackwell. Mr. Blackwell, you mentioned you've been through this type of scenario in one of the other communities that you've worked with. Any comments, feedback you can provide council or community?
So there's a difference between, and I don't quote me on the vernacular, but a contractor or a post office
Agency.
agency and
An
actual-
outlet.
And an outlet, yeah. And this is an agency, so it's contracted with Canada Post. So it's a different, obviously a different relationship than if it was with Canada Post directly. There is no ability to sort of intervene with respect to whatever their arrangements are, the arrangements between the store owner and Canada Post. That's solely their interest.
The business.
Yeah, where council can choose to do something, it's around advocacy. However, it's Canada Post. The chances of, I mean, what would the ask be that Canada Post establish an actual post office?
Yeah,
To check,
that's right.
more immediate urgency, we have to approach Canada Post and say, you have to give us more time to make an arrangement, or you need to make more time to make an arrangement. We can't cut people's mail off in 7 days. It's tax season, for goodness sake, people aren't gonna get their
T4s.
T4s, I mean, you can't.
Councillor Broughton,
Yeah,
and Councillor Broughton
Without-
probably has more experience than anyone.
Without knowledge of the current contract or the current arrangement, I don't think we're talking about having mail cut off. I think we're talking about the interface at the store counter. My understanding is that some of the actual placing of mail in the mailboxes is a separate contract. And so where it gets a bit messy is when the placing of the parcels in those new parcel boxes is done on site there. I think it's the sending of parcels, the receiving of additional parcels when you get one of those little cards. I think that's what we're talking about. But I don't. But I'm not speaking from knowledge. I'm speaking from
Past knowledge.
guessing.
I do have a question.
Guessing, well, based on, I don't know what the new I mean, it's been 7 years since I had any involvement, so. So I don't know what their contract is, but to have you say people will not be getting their mail, I just want to put a big red flag, that's not,
Okay,
that'll go out there like.
well, exactly,
wildfire.
that's reassuring, that's why I brought that up.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
So I think it's gonna be I think it will be not dissimilar than what it is like this week.
Yeah.
Okay, my suggestion is that Mr. Blackwell reach out and set up a time that either you speak directly with Mr. Doherty or the staff and or come up with some feedback for council, if there's
Sure.
anything at all that we
Try
can
to
do,
create an off ramp on
any
this.
advocacy, any initiatives that we should be doing.
And so I suppose then this would be a dissolution of a relationship between Canada Post and the business owner. And if there was a requirement for some sort of notice that would be delivered directly business to business, and they don't really owe the village the same amount of notification. Are you aware when you were in that position, what your termination clause may have been? Would it have?
I don't recall.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't recall.
I'm just.
Because I never
curious
looked,
to-
we never considered not continuing with it, so.
Yeah,
But I know that prior to us taking it over, there was a frou-frou years ago where Canada Post was. It was originally at one point in that post office area, and it was staffed in there. And then it went into the store. And before I ever took it over, so
Okay.
Anyway, there's been different versions over time. So, but it seems to me that there's gotta be some kind of a solution that can work for
It
people.
seems like Canada Post can do better than sending us out of Metro Vancouver, of which we are part of, to go receive our packages.
Yeah, well, but apparently, the post office at Horseshoe Bay closed, and so Caulfield ended up with all their parcels
I was in Horseshoe Bay the other day and I saw their little outlet still.
still there.
Yeah,
Okay, so
Mr. Blackwell.
it's hard to know.
anyways, we're
So
not
this
gonna
is where
solve
it's- this
Canada
is where it's
Post
dangerous
issues.
to
Mr.
talk
Blackwell.
about things that I don't know anything about.
Apparently Horseshoe Bay and Caulfield are not Canada Post.
Okay.
depots. Squamish is the only Canada Post depot, which is hence why the packages
Oh,
went
okay.
there, because those are not capable of managing.
There must be a Canada Post outlet in West Vancouver.
Assume so.
All right,
I get not called from Horseshoe Bay, but it doesn't make sense to
West,
send
well,
them to
there's the west,
Squamish.
yeah, there's the west span, one down on Bellevue. So anyway, there needs to be some kind of solution, and I'm sure these are coming up more and more with the Amazon, so although there's a lot less Amazon going on right now.
okay, Mr. Blackwell, if you could reach out.
Will do.
All right, we'll move to, public questions, comments, no one in the gallery, anyone online?
No.
Okay, motion to adjourn the open portion of the meeting and move back into closed.
Before,
Moved by Counselor Abbott, second by Counselor Cunliffe, all in favor?
Yeah,
yes,
Opposed, motion carried.
no need for any
Okay,
more
so
Zoom
we're now in
links.
Um,
Closed, committee of the
may want to consider